I got fired from being a father with one sentence. You are no longer my father because you gave me little money when I was young. 3 days later, I rolled a projector into his wedding rehearsal and put our family's ledger 12 feet wide on the wall. It started on a Tuesday that smelled like burnt coffee and rain. I was sitting by the window of a strip mall bakery, waiting to hand my son his grandmother's locket for his fiancée to wear. He was 27, tailored, phone glossy, the kind of man who talks while scanning for better conversations. He didn't sit. He didn't look at the locket. He read from his screen. You sent $200 in March of 2005, he said. That's the kind of memory I have, Dad. 200. Mom says you used to call that tight but manageable. Do you know what manageable buys a growing kid? I called the gas company manageable, I said. You were my impossible. He wore a smile that never reached his eyes. You're not walking me down the aisle. Kevin is. You can come if you want, or you can skip it. Given your history, I'm guessing you'll skip anything that costs. There was a script behind that voice. The man who married his mother when my boy was 11, Kevin, had a knack for lines that sounded final and sharp. I had sawdust and splinters in my palms the first time I heard him say, "Some fathers give presents. Others give presents." He said it at a parent-teacher conference while wearing a watch that matched his pen. The teacher flushed. My son watched me. This new line, though, "You are no longer my father," wasn't clever. It was a decree, like the closing bell on a shop. He turned to go. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the envelope with the locket, the chain coiled like a question mark. Your grandmother wanted your bride to have this, I said. It's not expensive. I'm sure it isn't, he said, and walked out into the rain without the envelope. I kept the locket. The coffee cooled, the rain slowed, and something in me that had worn down for years clicked into a new place. I went home and took down the shoebox. The box had weight because of paper, not jewelry. Receipts, stapled and restapled. Pay stubs with dust on them. Emails printed out and highlighted in green. Notes from the pediatrician about fevers and antibiotics I paid for in cash because my insurance had lapsed. The printed confirmation for the donor-advised fund I opened when he left for college. The same account that later paid for the freshman year scholarship marked Anonymous Donor. A letter from a hospital showing the $9,400 balance I'd erased after his ankle surgery freshman year by taking a second job. The certified mail receipt for the transfer that covered his first car's down payment, after his mother said, "He'll never forgive you if he rides the bus to prom." 200 in March 2005? He was right. I had exactly 200 then, and I sent it. In April, I sent 400 and paid my rent late. In May, I pawned my father's tools and bought them back in September when work picked up. That summer, I held 2 shifts, slept on my back in the cab of my truck on lunch breaks, and mailed checks with shaky signatures. I hadn't brought out the shoebox when he was 16 and shouting that his friends' dads took them to Cancun. I hadn't brought it out when he was 20 and said his stepfather was the real example. I hadn't brought it out when he was 22 and said he could use a little more than just advice. I kept thinking he'd see, not through paper, but through me, through the splinters, the extra shifts, the missing meals. It isn't noble to keep records. It's just what you do so nothing gets lost. But the sentence, "You are no longer my father," made it obvious. Everything had already been lost, and I had let the wrong person keep the inventory. I took the shoebox to my friend Lena, who ran a small legal office between a travel agency and a florist. She'd drawn up my will for free when I sold my first house at a loss just to cover the rest of his tuition. I don't want revenge, I told her. I want the truth to be seen, and I want the words to matter. She adjusted her glasses. Words always matter, she said. What words are we talking about? I read her the text. She sat back thinking. Lena is someone whose silences count interest. If he wants a financial definition of fatherhood, she said, tapping the shoebox, we can itemize it. And if you want his sentence to have legal teeth, we can make your documents honor his choice. You mean the will? And the fund, she said. Remember the one you set up when he left for college? The one that paid for his freshman scholarship? That's a donor-advised fund. You designed it so it could help him, his future children, or other children. You left the future open. I left it open on purpose, I said. Then let him close it, she said. That night I didn't sleep. I pulled stories off the paper and back into memory. He was 6 when the snow sealed the back door. I shoveled a trench at 4 in the morning to get to the truck so I could make the shift. He opened the door in his pajamas and asked if we could build a fort. I told him we could Saturday. I never told him how badly I wanted both things, the fort and the hours, and how bad you feel when you fail one thing because you chose the other. He texted at midnight. The rehearsal dinner was Friday at the Vineyard Hall. Kevin will do the toast, he added, as if the sky needed a forecast. Of course, I wrote. Save me a chair in the back. I called the hall on Wednesday and asked for a projector. I said I needed a screen and speakers, nothing fancy. The woman on the phone said, We've seen everything. It'll be fine Thursday. Lena sent me a file. If, during the rehearsal or the wedding, he has any public statement that he chooses another man for the role of father, and you document it, we can notarize your intent the same day, she wrote. Intent matters. So does proof I didn't intend to ruin a celebration. But silence ruins more than sound. It ruins the space where a person might finally hear you. Friday, Vineyard Hall glowed with the kind of lights that make everyone believe themselves photogenic. Round tables, glass stems, the smell of rosemary and butter. My son stood by the head table, looking like a magazine example of successful. His fiancée, Nora, had kind eyes and a nervous laugh that put a crease in her left cheek. She saw me before he did. She smiled and reached for my hand. I'm so glad you're here, she said. He wasn't sure. I wasn't sure either, I said. But I brought something I should have brought a long time ago. Kevin arrived late, in the way a man arrives when he needs the room to notice. He hugged my son, clapped him too hard on the back. When Kevin saw me, he put on surprise like a jacket. Look at this, he said. We've got all kinds here. All kinds, I agreed. Dinner, toasts, laughter that sounded like coins. Before dessert, Kevin tapped his glass. He stepped to the mic with the ease of someone whose voice doesn't quiver even when it should. Being a father is simple, he began. You give in 2 currencies, time and money. Anyone can claim love. It's the receipts that count. A few people glanced at me. I didn't look away. He spoke for 3 minutes, each sentence folding neatly into the next like towels in a catalog. He ended with, Tomorrow, I will walk my son down the aisle, proud of the man he has become. Applause. My son's eyes shone. He hugged Kevin long and hard. He looked toward the back of the room where I sat. He didn't motion me forward. I stood up anyway. I picked up the remote the hall manager had left for me and walked to the front as if my legs had rehearsed for this. I had already asked the coordinator for 2 minutes. She nodded now, puzzled, but not opposed. I took the mic. The room settled. My son, I said, told me this week that I am no longer his father because I gave little money when he was young. That's a clear metric. If money is the measure, let's measure honestly. I clicked the remote. The screen behind me filled with a scanned image, a bank statement from March 2005. A $200 transfer to his mother's account highlighted. The total in my bank afterward, $34.67. Gas, $20. Rent paid 3 days late, $640. $200 in March, I said. $400 in April. Here's May through December. The statements kept coming. Amounts lit up like runway lights, night shift stubs, The pediatrician's bill for antibiotics. The shoe-size chart I'd kept in my wallet because kids' feet grow by surprise. Click. The letter from the hospital about his ankle surgery flashed up. The paid-in-full stamp looked like a victory flagged down by exhaustion. Paid after I took a second shift and slept in my truck, I said. I didn't mention that at the time. I'm mentioning it now. Murmurs. Nora leaned forward in her chair, eyes locked on the screen. Kevin crossed his arms. Click. A screenshot of an email. Confirmation of a scholarship transfer. Anonymous donor for freshman year. Another, the down payment for the first car. Another, repairs after that car was dented, and he called me, nervous, at midnight. You can be stupid on my dime twice, I'd texted him then, trying to be funny. Not 3 times. I turned from the screen. These are receipts, I said. They're not even the most important kind. The nights, there are no stubs for those. What I want you to hear is that I had so little, sometimes it made my bones ache. I sent it anyway. If you needed more than I had, I worked more than I could. That doesn't make me a saint. It makes me what I promised to be. Kevin stood. This is wildly inappropriate, he said. This is a celebration. You liked receipts, I said, and clicked again. The last slide was a sound file. The room speakers warmed. A voice came out, recorded 2 weeks earlier. Kevin's. Tell him, the voice said. Use his own words. He always talked about managing. Say he didn't give you enough. He hates that word. You hit him where he lives and he'll cough up something real. Then my son's voice, smaller, troubled. He won't, Kevin. You don't know him. He has pride. That pride is a money belt, Kevin said on the recording. Squeeze it. Say he's not your father if he won't pay. Silence in the room. No coins in this laughter. Not even breath. My son went white. He turned to Kevin. You recorded me? He whispered at me, but his eyes were on Kevin's face. I recorded my call with Kevin, I said quietly. I record phone calls at work when I'm talking about bids. Habit. Kevin lunged toward me. For a second I thought he would swing. A few men stood, ready to stop what none of us wanted in a room full of glass. He pivoted to my son. You're really going to let this derail tomorrow? He hissed. He's manipulating you. For attention, my son looked like a boy again. The exact expression he wore at 8 when a magician let him see the false bottom of the hat. Not betrayal. Worse. The sense that the trick had always been the hat, not the rabbit. Nora stood, pale but steady. Great, she said. Good. We're doing truth here. Do more. I took a breath. There's one more piece, I said. It's not a slide. I pulled out a sealed envelope, my son's name on the front, written in the careful handwriting I use when it has to be legible past trembling. I started a fund when you went to college, I said. It's grown. I set it up so it could help you, your children, or children you never meet. I left the choice open because I believed we'd talk about what you needed and what you wanted to give. He swallowed. His eyes shone for a reason that wasn't applause. And then, I said, you defined fatherhood as money. Your words are clean. You are no longer my father because you gave me little money when I was young. I handed him the envelope. Inside was a letter signed by me and notarized by Lena, explaining that if he publicly chose another man as father, I would direct the fund elsewhere. There was also a second envelope addressed to the community foundation. This is blackmail, Kevin spat. No, Lena's voice came from the back. I hadn't noticed her come in. She stepped forward, court blue suit tailored for small rooms like this. It's follow-through. He's giving his son the dignity of consequence. Nora took my son's hand. Open it, she whispered. He did. He read. His face did not crumple. It rearranged. You can watch a man become honest the same way you watch someone lose a lie they can't afford to keep. The room waited on him. He didn't look at Kevin. He looked at me. I said a thing I thought would bend you, he said. I thought if I took the word father away, you'd run to get it back. I don't run like that, I said. He nodded. You walk like a man who carried me on his shoulders when I was too old and too heavy for it. I forgot that walk tomorrow, Nora said softly. Steal under it. Who walks you? He closed his eyes. He didn't speak to Kevin. He spoke to the room. My father, he said. The one who showed up with more than money. The one who showed up when it would have been easier not to. He will walk me. It was the line that mattered for Lena. It was the line that mattered for me. Kevin laughed a short, mean laugh, the sound a faucet makes when the water is off and you turn it anyway. He raised his glass and then lowered it without drinking. He walked out. Nobody followed. After the rehearsal, after the apologies and hugs and the way people remind themselves to be decent when they almost weren't, my son came to the parking lot with the envelope in his hand. The evening was cool. The vineyard smell was rich and dark, like something well-earned. You don't have to redirect it, he said. No, please. No, don't. He spoke plainly. But if you do, I'll understand. I won't, I said. Not all of it. Not until it does what it should. What should it do? He asked. Teach you how to measure, I said. How to use money for a life, not a life for money. He closed the distance and hugged me. And this time both of us did the holding up. Before we left that night, I finally handed Nora the locket. She fastened it with steady hands. The wedding was simple once truth had been stapled through the middle. I walked him down the aisle. The locket lay against Nora's collarbone, warm and brave. Halfway, my son squeezed my arm, a child's squeeze for balance. He was not trembling. He was calibrating. Kevin did not attend. He sent a text to my son that night, words I didn't hear. My son didn't talk about the text at the reception. He danced with Nora and with his mother and with me. He didn't look over his shoulder. On Sunday, we met at Lena's office. He signed a statement acknowledging what he'd said, and another acknowledging what he'd corrected. We adjusted the fund. A third went to their home's down payment. A third went to a scholarship for kids who've got everything but the coins. In my son's name, no longer as an anonymous donor. A third remained to grow with a clause he wrote himself, accessible only for health, education, or to prevent harm to family. He chose those words. He printed them, then rewrote them by hand. Words matter, and now he wanted them to live like that. Back at my house, we took down the shoebox. He lifted the lid like people lift lids on boxes where the past has been sleeping. He ran his hands over the edges of receipts that had outlived the places they were printed from. I used to think you were small because you handed me a small number once, he said. I can't explain to you how much I wanted to be the kind of son who got told yes more than no. I wanted to be the kind of father who said yes more than no, I said. He nodded. We both did math with bad light. We didn't try to inventory love. We didn't try to weigh nights against bills. We just made room among the papers for 2 coffee mugs and sat on the floor, the shoebox between us like a campfire burning away what didn't have to stay. A week later, Nora called to thank me for the locket. It feels heavier than it is, she said. It carries receipts, I said, and we laughed for the first time without a ledger in the room. 3 months passed. My son took a second job, not because he had to, but because he wanted to know what I'd known. Not the suffering, but the understanding. He sent me a photo at 2 a.m, his palms blistered, his smile not photogenic at all, and better for it. He wrote, I'm learning the currency of tired joy. By winter, Kevin had stopped appearing in rooms with microphones. My son told me Kevin called, asked for a loan. My son said no and mailed him a list of free counseling clinics. He isn't my father, he told me quietly. Not hateful, not gloating, accurate. I wish I could end the story with something cinematic like a check being torn in half and thrown in the air like confetti. Real life's confetti is smaller. It's the automatic way a man reaches for the wrong pocket and then remembers his hands can be empty. It's the way a woman touches the locket at her throat when she laughs. It's two men in a kitchen on a Tuesday, washing dishes they could have left for later, because leaving things for later is how ledgers get muddled. One night, we were clearing plates. My son dried and I washed. He said, "I shouldn't have said it that way. I shouldn't have said it at all." "You did," I said. "And then you said the other thing." "The right one. Both are true. Only one keeps." He set the towel down. He looked at me, not for permission, not for money, not for rescue. He looked like a man who had found a new way to count. "I'll pay you back," he said suddenly. "All of it." Every receipt. I shook my head. "Don't make money try to do love's job," I said. "Pay it forward instead. Make some kid's march look like mine did, and then better." He smiled. "You sound like a man who set up a scholarship." "I sound like a man who finally learned how to use a projector," I said. We both laughed. We put the dishes away. He kissed his wife on the forehead as she dried her hands. He squeezed my shoulder on the way out the door. This is my last receipt. A line item that says my son's sentence didn't end me. It began us. He tried to turn fatherhood into a balance sheet. I turned the balance sheet into a story he could finally read. "Walk me again," he said months later, when Nora was ready to deliver, and nerves shook the walls of the hospital like a soft earthquake. "I'll walk you anywhere," I told him, and I did, down the fluorescent aisles, past posted lists of what is allowed and what is prohibited, into a room where another ledger started with a cry. He looked at his daughter, then at me. He didn't ask for anything. He pressed his forehead to mine like he had when he was small. "Dad," he said, measuring it out loud with care as if it were new currency he wanted to spend right. "Thank you."
This is my grandfather's story. He lived it, I just share it. Subscribe for more true stories worth remembering.